The Friday Night Funkin' Glitch Legend V2 mod just dropped, and in this video I want to go ahead and explain the backstories of each of the characters that ended up being corrupted, and I also want to explain how they got corrupted. Some of the characters we know for sure, and some of them we have to kind of speculate. Now the first character I want to start out with is going to be Senpai, and I know looking at him it may be hard to tell because he does look a bit different than the original Senpai, but if the music doesn't give away, he does have the tie and the outfit that Senpai wears, obviously. Now I don't think anybody's surprised that Senpai ended up being corrupted. Most of the characters in the Friday Night Funkin' universe ended up actually being corrupted, and the fact that Senpai is trapped in a video game means that he's a super easy target. And since later on we'll see that Daddy Dearest is corrupted as well, it makes sense that Senpai is also corrupted because Daddy Dearest owns the game that Senpai is trapped within. Now one thing that I want to note about Senpai being corrupted and why it's kind of dangerous is that he was already pretty aggressive before he got corrupted, but if you notice in the mod we see that Spirit is actually lunging out of him, but in this mod he's not trying to destroy Senpai's body, instead he's trying to lunge at Boyfriend. And it seems that the corruption made Spirit more aggressive, but also made it to where he doesn't want to destroy his own host. The next group of characters are some of my favorite, and that's because they are from Teen Titan. And the first character that we see here is Robin, and a lot of people may not think it's a big deal that Robin gets corrupted, but Robin is actually very powerful, even as a kid. And in case you don't know, this version of Robin becomes Nightwing later on or when he's an adult, and we all know just how tough Nightwing is. But even as a kid, if you take away all of Robin's gadget, he's still a master at like hand-to-hand combat. He's literally considered to be a genius, and probably the most dangerous part is that he's also the leader of a bunch of even more powerful kids. As we see here, Cyborg and Batman were able to escape the corruption for now, but the people who did get corrupted is Starfire, Beast Boy, and probably the most impressive, Raven. Now we all know that Beast Boy is powerful in his own right. He can basically turn into any animal and he can be very deadly when he wants to be. Starfire is basically an alien that can throw these energy balls. She can fly. She is very powerful in her own right, but the big deal here is definitely Raven. Now for those of you that don't know, Raven is by far the most powerful member in Teen Titans. She's basically the daughter of like this super powerful demon. Raven has the power to basically heal herself to some degree. She also can basically read your emotions and in a sense your mind a little bit. She knows telekinesis. She can also throw like these dark energy balls which can mess you up easily. She can literally levitate and pretty much fly. If she really wants to, she can literally manifest her own fears, meaning that anything that she's afraid of, if she doesn't just let that out naturally, she can just manifest it. And if that wasn't bad enough, she's basically just like a witch, meaning that she knows magic on top of all those other abilities that she has. And the worst part about her being corrupted is that it takes away her biggest weakness, and that was the fact that like her emotions were not balanced. And if she wasn't like in a zen state or if she wasn't in control of her emotions, she basically couldn't use her abilities to their full potential. The darkness basically takes that away, right? Because it takes away a person's mind, so now she doesn't have to worry about being imbalanced or emotions. The darkness basically just turns her into a killing machine. I would say she's definitely in the top 5 most dangerous characters to ever be corrupted by the darkness in any PB mod. Now the next character that we see get corrupted is Batman, and while he may not be as dangerous as Raven on paper and in terms of like brute power, Batman himself is still a huge threat. As far as regular human beings go, Batman is like in the top 1% of like physical power and like mental ability, right? Like he's just a absolute unit with no enhancements. And the thing that makes him so dangerous is that even though the darkness kind of takes a person's mind a little bit, they still get to keep their instincts. And we all know that as Batman has time to prep and really think about what he's going to do, he can be extremely dangerous even to people who would definitely wipe him in any type of fair fight. So if the darkness allows Batman to keep some of his mental capacities, I think he's one of the more dangerous people to be corrupted, because think of how many people that he will trick into getting corrupted just by how cunning he is and the fact that he's basically like a ninja. He'll be able to corrupt people before they even know he's in the room. Next up on our list we have Oswald and Mickey, continuing the trend of old school cartoons being corrupted. It's kind of interesting that they decided to corrupt Oswald, because considering that he's supposed to be Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, usually he ends up getting out of trouble because obviously he's lucky. A couple of other characters that ended up being corrupted here, we get to see obviously Mickey there in the middle, but also Felix the Cat, which is a very old cartoon, and then we got Bendy there. And it's interesting that they put Bendy alongside of Felix and Mickey because apparently he was supposed to be based off their character design. Now I think it makes sense that Oswald and Mickey are shown being corrupted together because they are considered to be brothers. And I would assume that if one of them was in danger, the other one would probably risk his life to save them. Even in the old creepypastas, Oswald would always try to be at his brother's side even if Mickey pushed him away, so I think it makes sense that those two are corrupted together. Next up on our list, we see SpongeBob, and I don't think anybody's surprised to see him corrupted because there's been plenty of mods where we actually seen a corrupted SpongeBob. One thing that I do find interesting here though is that now you see that he uses the spatula that he was using to make Krabby Patties in order to attack people, and the other thing is that most of his friends are also corrupted. In the actual song, we see Mr. Krabs, Squidward, and Patrick has all been corrupted, and I think it makes perfect sense that Mr. Krabs and Patrick are corrupted because Mr. Krabs, even though he's a greedy old crab, he does actually love SpongeBob like his own son. And of course, Patrick and SpongeBob are best friends, so it makes sense that they would be corrupted together. Something else that I find interesting here that may actually be a good thing is that the person that managed to not get corrupted in this universe is Plankton. And we all know that as far as raw intelligence goes, Plankton is probably the smartest person in the SpongeBob series, so if anybody can actually fight against the darkness, it would be him. So while he may not be the most trustworthy person, he is a good person to have on your team if your world is literally about to end. The next person that we see in the mod is Monica from the Doki Doki Literature Club. She was like the president of the literature club in the game if you played it. Now this one is probably one of the least problematics, at least if you look at her actual abilities in the game, because most of her control actually takes place in the video game that she resides in. Yes, she has the ability like to infiltrate your computer and kind of like learn your name and like speak to you directly, but she can't really do anything to you. Now with that being said, if the darkness gives her abilities outside of that, I guess she could be a threat. And considering that she can control everything in like her game universe, I guess she could corrupt the other girls. So this one right here is definitely one of the least problematic ones, unless the darkness extends her power like into the real world. Then she would be a huge problem because she's definitely crazy. The next character that we get to see corrupted is Tails, and this one's kind of a surprise to me because usually Sonic is the one that gets corrupted. The good news here though is that Tails is significantly weaker than Sonic, so if one of them was to get corrupted, Tails is definitely the better option. And that's not to say that Tails is weak, but he's definitely not as strong or fast as Sonic the Hedgehog. And as far as how I think he actually ended up getting corrupted, I think that Tails probably would have sacrificed himself to make sure that Sonic didn't get corrupted, because while Tails may not be as strong or fast as Sonic, he definitely has a bigger heart and he's definitely fearless when it comes to things like that. And while Sonic may be the leader of his group, he's definitely not the smartest person. Tails is literally considered to be a genius, especially anything that takes like technology, while Sonic is kind of a goofball in a way. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised if Tails had to sacrifice himself to make sure that Sonic was able to survive.